fellas. I closed the shed door so I can, the bike shed door, so I can have the correct lighting for this crappy little video on the iPhone. But basically, I had the same problem that Half Crazy did with a little less extremity to it. I had problems shifting occasionally, and I have a numbness in my left leg from a knee surgery and from some other damage in my nerves in my left leg. And I tended to bang away at my gears, I think, and I got a slip a while back that bothered me, and then I couldn't shift the other day. So I ordered the same parts he did, which you see right there, that little roller wheel. They call it the detent arm, and the wheel on the end of it that holds the star that drives your transmission. There's shifter pawls inside your transmission, and that star on that shaft, as it spins, it drives your transmission inside the case to different gears. I know I'm over-explaining this, but here's where I think the problem lies, and what Half Crazy was talking about. I am buying the same part he did. It's just going to take a while to get here, so I thought I'd look in the bike and change some stuff. The shift assembly itself is this, and right on top of this clip ring, because there's some axial play in the mounting of that, where your external shifter linkage hits, putting a washer right on top of that will keep that play from happening. And what happens is, because this is weakened and this spring is weakened, that little spring arm there, it's a lot weaker than it was the last time I took the bike apart. I think that probably needs strengthening, but I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to change out to a new shift linkage that doesn't have as much play in it, and on top of the new shift linkage's clip ring that comes with the assembly for about 68 bucks, I'm going to put a oil drain plug washer so that there's not as much axial thrust play in this, because it's such a thin piece of metal. It's thicker than it needs to be, but it's thin for the clearance, and I think it misses sometimes. I think it gets off angle and misses the star sometimes. It slides out a little bit, and then you're out of play. So when my new detent arm comes in, I'll pop this whole assembly back off. But it took me about, I don't know, 25 minutes to disassemble this, and I think the whole thing's going to take me an hour and a half, an hour 40, because I'm doing it casually while my wife's out playing with a dog and running around like a nut. So I can usually do this now without needing a new gasket, because I throw the bike over on the side, and there's maybe 5 or 6 tools to get this far, and like I said, less than a half an hour's work. And I'll do this again on what OT is talking about, changing out the star if you change it. And I think mine's fairly solid, and maybe it is the newer part number, because I can't find a change to the part number for it. So I'm leaving the star in place, so I won't need to take my clutch assembly apart. So I won't need to take this out, so I won't need to remove that clip ring. There's a lot of things, the actuator assembly I won't have to take out. I won't have to take the nut on the clutch shaft. I wouldn't need to disassemble the clutch. There's another clip ring in there right here that holds the whole clutch assembly together, and I could reach in and get the nut underneath this actuator if I take the clip ring for the actuator out, and then take the whole thing off and do the star. But the star looks good to me. It looks solid. It's well made, no wear. But I am going to change this, because I think that little bugger has too much play in it. I think the spring is weak on it. I think the spring is weaker on this than it needs to be. I think it needs to be a little tighter. If I can move it that easily, the 10 or 15% that they add to the spring and the smoother shift, but by not having this just be on a rivet, but by putting a micro ceramic bearing in there, it's a little much for 120 bucks. But I think that's a weak link, and I think the shifter's a weak link. And taking the axial thrust out of the shifter mounting and taking the weakening out of that roller wheel sticking will make for a better clutch, I think. So I'm going to do that today, and then I'm going to button it back up. You guys have a good one. When I go to change out that detent arm, they call it, when I go to change that out in a few weeks, if it gives me any trouble or anything, I'll catch some video, but I won't post it unless it's a problem. Otherwise, I'm just going to pop the cover off again and then change that and then put the cover back on again.